day the truth finally came out, the entire hall went silent. Not the polite silence of a meeting waiting to begin, the dangerous silence that comes when hundreds of people realize they have been lied to. In the middle of the hall stood Emeka Okafor, the pride of his village, the son everyone praised, the boy who had returned from abroad. And in the next 30 seconds, his entire life would collapse. But to understand how a respected man ends up humiliated in front of government officials, community leaders, and his own family, you must start from the beginning. Because Emeka Okafor did not begin as a liar, he began as a dream. In the small village of Umuabo in southeastern Nigeria, everyone knew Emeka. His father was a retired primary school teacher. His mother sold tomatoes and dried fish at the roadside market. They were not poor enough to starve, but poor enough that every naira mattered. From childhood, Emeka carried the weight of expectation. In villages like Umuabo, there are two ways a boy becomes respected. He becomes rich, or he becomes educated. And education was the path Emeka's parents chose for him. His father used to say the same sentence to him every night: "Education is the only thing nobody can steal from you." Emeka believed it. For years, he studied harder than anyone else. He walked 3 kilometers to school every morning. He read borrowed textbooks under kerosene lanterns when electricity failed. And when his WAEC results came out, he passed. Not just passed. He passed with grades good enough to dream bigger than the village, university, maybe even abroad. Around the same time Emeka finished secondary school, a rumor began spreading across the village. A boy from the next town had traveled to the United Kingdom for university. When he returned for Christmas, people gathered around him like he was a celebrity. He wore nice suits, spoke English with a foreign accent, and drove a car that looked too expensive for the dusty roads of the village. Children stared at him like he was a movie star. That was the day Emeka made a decision. He didn't just want to go to university, he wanted to go abroad, because in the village, abroad meant success. But dreams require money, and Emeka's family barely had enough to survive. When he first mentioned studying abroad, his father laughed gently. "Emeka, we cannot afford university in Lagos. How then can we afford London?" Still, the idea never left Emeka's mind. Years passed, he tried for local universities. Admissions didn't come. Competition was too fierce. Then one day, something happened. Something that would change the direction of his entire life. Emeka moved to Lagos to hustle. Like thousands of young men every year, he believed the city would reward ambition. But Lagos is a city that tests dreams. He worked small jobs, sales assistants, delivery rider, cyber cafe attendant, nothing stable, nothing impressive. Then one evening, inside the cyber cafe where he worked, a man walked in, well-dressed, confident, the kind of man who looked like he understood the shortcuts of life. His name was Kelvin. Kelvin had a business, or at least he called it a business. He helped people create documents, passports, certificates, school transcripts, all of them, looking perfectly real. Emeka first thought it was a joke, until Kelvin showed him samples, university degrees, from London, from Canada, from South Africa, printed perfectly, stamped, convincing. "You'd be surprised," Kelvin told him casually, "how many people succeed with these things." Emeka laughed nervously. But that night, he could not stop thinking. The idea crawled into his mind like a whisper. What if, just for now, he pretended, just until life improved, just until he found a real opportunity. After all, people respected graduates. They got jobs faster. Doors opened for them. One small lie could change everything. 2 years later, Emeka returned to Umuabo, but this time he came as a different man. He wore suits, carried himself with quiet confidence, and inside his bag was a beautifully printed certificate, Bachelor of Business Administration, University of Manchester. When his parents saw the document, they cried. His father held the certificate with trembling hands. "My son, you did it." Emeka forced a smile. In that moment, he told himself something dangerous. This lie is harmless. But lies are rarely harmless. Word spread quickly. The boy who left the village had graduated abroad. Soon, elders began inviting him to speak at youth meetings. They wanted him to inspire the younger generation. They wanted him to explain how he succeeded. At first, Emeka felt uncomfortable, but praise can become addictive. He began telling stories about London, about studying overseas, about opportunity, most of them invented. But the village believed him. Why wouldn't they? The certificate looked real. Within a year, Emeka's reputation exploded. The local government chairman invited him to events. He was introduced as our son who studied abroad. Businessmen began respecting him. Church leaders asked him to mentor youths. Even girls who once ignored him suddenly became interested. And eventually, a government opportunity appeared, a new youth employment program. Applicants with foreign degrees were given priority. Emeka applied. His fake certificate passed the initial screening. Just like that, he was hired. Salary, office, status. For the first time in his life, Emeka felt like the man everyone believed he was. And slowly, the lie stopped feeling like a lie. It started feeling like reality. No one was prouder than his parents. His mother told everyone in the market, "My son studied in England." His father repeated the story to anyone who would listen. In Umuabo, Emeka became a symbol, proved that a village boy could reach the world. During Christmas, his home filled with visitors. Relatives brought gifts. Young boys asked him for advice. Parents pointed at him and told their children, "Be like Emeka." Each compliment tightened the knots around his neck. But by now, it was too late to stop. The lie had grown bigger than him. 5 years passed, Emeka climbed higher inside the government program. Promotions came, salary increased. He bought a car, moved to Abuja, married a beautiful woman named Adele, a nurse who believed she had married a foreign graduate. Everything looked perfect. From the outside, Emeka had won. But deep inside, fear lived quietly. Every time someone mentioned verification, his stomach tightened. Still, nothing happened. Year after year, the lie survived, until the government announced something unexpected, a nationwide credential verification exercise. The announcement seemed routine. Government ministries would verify all academic qualification, especially foreign degrees, to prevent fraud. Just another bureaucratic exercise. But when Emeka read the memo, his hands began to shake. All foreign graduates must submit documents for international confirmation directly from universities, and the University of Manchester had never heard his name. For the first time in years, panic returned. Emeka contacted Kelvin again, the man who created the certificate years earlier. Kelvin laughed when he heard the situation. "You've enjoyed the benefit for years. What did you expect?" Still, Kelvin tried to help. He produced transcripts, recommendation letters, even fake email correspondence, but one problem remained. The government was now verifying directly with universities. No middleman, no shortcuts. Janwe shook his head. "This one may be beyond me." For the first time since the lie began, Emeka saw the possibility of collapse. The verification exercise took place inside a large government hall in Abuja. Hundreds of employees attended, officials from the ministry, HR departments, external auditors. Everything looked official, professional, routine. But for Emeka, it felt like walking into a courtroom. Names were called one by one, documents reviewed, universities confirmed through secure database. Some people were cleared quickly, Others asked for additional documentation. The process moved steadily. Then they called his name, Mr. Emeka Okafor. He stood slowly, walked toward the verification desk, heart pounding. The official scanned his certificate, typed something into the system, then paused, typed again. His face changed slightly. Another officer leaned over to look. More typing, more silence, and then the words that destroyed everything. Mr. Okafor, the University of Manchester has no record of you. The hall fell silent. Everyone nearby turned to look. Emeka tried to speak. It must be a mistake. The officer remained calm. We have checked multiple databases. Another official added quietly. The certificate appears fraudulent. The word fraudulent echoed across the hall. People whispered. Some employees stepped back like the truth was contagious. Emeka's leg felt weak. For years he had imagined this moment, but imagination could not prepare him for the reality. In one sentence, the identity he had built for a decade collapsed. Security officers approached, not aggressively, but firmly. He was escorted to a separate room for questioning. In the hall outside, employees were already discussing the scandal. The man who studied abroad, fake certificate, 10 years in government. The story spread through the building like wildfire. In villages, news traveled faster than electricity. By evening, the story reached Umuabo, first through WhatsApp, then through phone calls, then through rumors. Did you hear about Emeka? They say his degree was fake. Government caught him. At the market, his mother sat quietly while women whispered nearby. His father locked himself inside the house. The man who had proudly told everyone about his son now avoided eye contact. Shame is heavy in communities where reputation matters. And this shame did not belong to Emeka alone. It fell on the entire family. The hardest conversation came that night. When Emeka returned home, Adaeze was waiting. She had already seen the news online. Her voice was calm, too calm. Is it true? For years, Emeka had avoided these moments. Now there was nowhere left to hide. He nodded slowly. Yes. The silence that followed felt endless. Finally, she spoke again. So everything was a lie. Emeka tried to explain how he planned to fix it later, how he thought it would be temporary, but excuses sounded weak in the face of the truth. Adaeze stood up quietly. I married the man I thought you were. Then she walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Within weeks, consequences followed. Emeka lost his job. A criminal investigation opened. Media stories circulated online. Government official exposed with fake foreign degree. His reputation vanished overnight. Friends stopped calling. Former colleagues avoided him, and the village that once celebrated him now discussed him as a cautionary tale. The pride of Umuabo had become its embarrassment. Months passed. Legal battles continued, but something slowly changed inside Emeka. For years he had lived inside the lie, always afraid, always protecting the story. But now the truth was out, and strangely, the fear disappeared. Because once everything collapses, there is nothing left to hide. 1 year later, Emeka returned to Umuabo, not as a successful graduate, not as the pride of the village, just as Emeka, the boy who once walked 3 kilometers to school. At first, people avoided him, but gradually, curiosity replaced anger. One evening, the village youth association invited him to speak, not about success, but about failure. Emeka stood before them quietly, and for the first time in his life, he told the full truth. He explained how the lie started, how praises made it grow, how success built on deception eventually collapses. The youths listened carefully, some shocked, some thoughtful, and Emeka ended with a simple message. One line may open a door, but it locks every other door behind you. He paused, then added something even more important. Education is not just a certificate, it is character. The room remained quiet, but this time it was a different silence. Not the silence of humiliation, the silence of understanding. In many African communities, reputation is everything. Families carry pride like a crown, but crown built on lies eventually fall. Emeka wanted respect, he wanted success, he wanted admiration of his village, but he tried to build those things on deception. And deception always has an expiration date, because no matter how long a lie survives, the truth is patient. And when it finally arrives, it all arrives at once. And that is the story of the fake graduates. A man who became the pride of his village through a lie. You need to discover that the higher a lie lifts you, the harder the fall when the truth arrives. If you enjoyed this story, drop a comment in the comment section. Tell us what you learned and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.